Coming up in today's episode.
It's definitely hurtful because I've spent all of my energy and my time helping build this man up. And then he hits me with this information like, oh, by the way, I've literally been holding this back from you over 12 months.
Welcome to episode 84 of Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the question of what is a healthy relationship? Before we get to that, Kyra, how are you this week?
Doing super good. My book publisher just sent me the first rough draft for my newest self-help book. So that's really exciting. I've been waiting for like 2.5 years. So that's really, really great. And my rug distributor just got back to me and said that we can print on fatigue rugs, which will be great for targeting people in offices who are the big bosses and want those fatigue rugs. So that's really exciting. So things are moving along. How's it going on your end?
Well, those are two big pieces of news. So
yes,
congrats on that.
Thank you.
It's exciting.
I know.
So what's up with me is I'm diving into another one of Frederick Dodson's books. Okay. This is the Reality Creation Coach that I've read several of his books. So inspiring though. It's like, dang, it really makes you understand like, whoa, I can make anything happen. All right, well, without further ado, let's get to our topic today. So it's a topic I've been thinking about, and by no means am I an expert on this topic. I would say to some degree I'm an expert in psychology. So when it comes to relationships, I remember working at a psychiatric facility for teenagers and really, really emotionally challenged teenagers. The psychologist that was in charge of the clinical program there came up with this theory called like relational reenactment model. And basically it explained how the kids would reenact their past relationships. So even if it was not a positive relationship, they would reenact those throughout time. And as the years went on and I thought about and reflected on this, I thought, well, I'm no different because a lot of times I just fall into certain roles. And so that's sort of how I'm starting to look at this, but that's just one angle. Like if I were to ask you, what is a healthy relationship? And we can take this in any direction you want. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think healthy relationship?
I guess it would be the ability to not judge one another for like what the other has been through. So like communication, like being able to communicate about how the both of you are feeling with no judgment. I really think that that's just like one of the biggest keys to relationships.
I think that's big because I think fear of judgment is what holds us back from disclosing certain things.
Yeah.
And that's the worst, when months and years go by and the person hasn't told you something that's kind of important.
I actually just got out of a relationship. It wasn't monogamous, but I'd been dating this man for 1.5 years, and I loved him. I still love him. I still have love for this guy. He's been there for me in my darkest times. But he had just told me the other day that the reason why he hasn't asked me out for this past 1.5 years is because he was pitying his ex. He never talked to me about it. It's definitely hurtful because I've spent all of my energy and my time helping build this man up and helping build him into the man that he is meant to be. And then he hits me with this information like, oh, by the way, I've literally been holding this back from you this entire fucking over 12 months.
Do you remember when we interviewed holistic healer Heather Forster?
Yes.
She said that her husband came out as transgendered, and she said, of course, there's nothing wrong with someone being transgender, but what was wrong was that he knew that he was transgender all along and didn't tell her. I mean, but if you think about why would he not disclose something like that, it's probably comes back to fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of having to deal with the consequences of disclosing something like that. But at the same time, that's not an excuse. You gotta be able to face fear and overcome that, because there's a greater gain from walking through that fire, right?
There's definitely a much, much greater gain from walking through that fire. I want you to be in the light. You know, I want you to be in the light with who I am and what I'm doing. And the sooner that you're in the light and know who I am and see the way that I operate, the sooner you can decide if you want to be with me or not. If it doesn't work out, I am okay with it. I will be fine. I am a beautiful woman. I have so much to offer. I know my worth. If you and I don't align, that doesn't mean that you're a shitty person. It just means that we don't align. And, you know, there's somebody out there better for you, and there's somebody out there better for me. So it's like, I guess it can be a little sad when the relationship that you wanted to work out doesn't work out. But at the same time, it's like, hey, don't forget that in that relationship, there was something that you were thinking about or something that you were missing. And God is separating you two so he can give you exactly what you are desiring in a man.
You don't know how things are going to end up. Like, you're willing to put yourself out there, like 100% you, like representing you accurately, and you don't know how the other person will react. But at the same time, I feel like that's the route we have to go. You can't be concerned. You can't like twist or alter or diminish what your truth is because you don't want the relationship to end as a result. See, because then you're turning down the volume dial of your self, your soul, because you don't want someone else to complain about not liking the music they're hearing. But if you turn it on full blast, if someone likes that music, they're going to like the music because they like the music, right?
Yes, and I really, really like that.
And I think we have to acknowledge that it takes some degree of self-work to get to that place. Because, I mean, the opposite is codependency. And I was never a fan of that term because I think people misunderstand it. When I say it, I guess I just mean like people that are in a relationship because they both kind of need something that the other person is giving them. And so it just means both parties are dependent.
So like I like this new guy because he really helps me feel motivated and he helps me feel empowered to be the woman that I am. I met him a week ago, you know, but if he were to say like, I don't like you anymore, that was great, we had a fun time, but I just don't think that you're for me, you know, then in that case, I would say, well, I still feel empowered to be the woman I am. I don't need this man to make me feel empowered. It was great. It was so great to have him around, but I can still cultivate this on my own, number one. And number two, I can always find somebody else in this world who is going to help me feel empowered as well. And I think that that's the best way to go into relationships is understanding why you're with them, like understanding how they make you feel, but also reminding yourself like, hey, remember, this person isn't going to be your main source of this. You cannot feed off of this person for what they are giving you. You need to cultivate it on your own. Remember that.
Yeah, this is reminding me of our interview with Judith Costa, that unconditional love coach and self-love, because she made a lot of similar points that the source of the happiness needs to come from within, from you, and you can't depend on somebody else for your happiness.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bit of a cliche, like a lot of people would say that, right? It comes from within. You can't depend on other people for your happiness. But she was speaking from experience too. She thought that the relationship would make her happy. But you know what's interesting? Indra Rinsler, the astrologer spiritual guide, he touched on this also, because he was talking about how he had a client that referred to her significant other as the love of her life. But Indra said, he pointed out that that is a weighty label. That's a construct. It's a weighty label. It puts a lot of weight on somebody and pressure. Yeah, you remember that. And then he said, yeah, one day my wife called me, hey, you're my man. And Indra was like, my man? He's like, we talked about that for 7 days straight. He's like, Indra's all spiritual. He's like, don't put no labels on me. He's like, I am a free being now. I don't know what he would say, but it was interesting that he pointed that out. Now, what we're seeing in all these interviews is this common theme coming up, right? The common thread. And I would even add to this, our interview with Charlene Madden, who said at one point that if her marriage ended tomorrow, she would be okay. She doesn't want it to end, of course, but she would be okay because she knows that she is enough. And she said she used to cling to toxic relationships. And why? Because she didn't believe she was enough. And by being in a relationship, continuing to be in a relationship, even if it was toxic, at least it gave her that sense of belonging or comfort or validation or whatever it is that this mind is seeking. And I mean, I think that's so crucial, because I loved when she said it. There was such a vibration of freedom when she made that statement.
I think that the term, rather, love of my life, can be turned into something that's like, you are the love of my life, no matter who you are. Like, you are the love of my life in this moment. I am not holding you to, like, anything. All I'm saying is that, like, this is a term of endearment. Like, you are the love of my life. Like, you are my man. You are my man. You are your own man, 100%. But you also have a beautiful woman by your side. And if I am not allowed to call you my man, what if this is my husband? It's the same thing. My man and my husband are the same thing. It just, you gotta like maneuver the societal vibrations that we've placed on it.
I'm glad you brought up society, because I was just about to bring up society. I'll tell you what, like every relationship that I had earlier in my life, I brought to it this schema or mental framework that I had seen in the movies. And it didn't work. It didn't work because the mental framework in all of these movies is the beautiful girl ends up with the average Joe who's a nice guy, and she ditches the powerful asshole. Happened in a lot of Adam Sandler movies in the 90s. Happy Gilmore, The Wedding Singer, and it's the same plot line that's been used in hundreds and hundreds of movies.
The Notebook. Like, she had like the rich, powerful guy who loved her and everything, but she went home to the guy who made her feel homey, right? So I feel like we have those stigmas, and they put those in movies, and they kind of make you think that like a life without wealth is happier, is homier, is more loving, has more genuine love in it. But once you grow up, you need to realize that they put these stigmas in our mind, maybe on purpose, maybe not on purpose, but they put these stigmas in our mind, and it makes you believe that you cannot find a wealthy, powerful, successful man who also gives you genuine love, genuinely cares for you, makes you feel like you're at home, right? And that is out there. And it's proof that it's out there, and you just have to raise yourself enough to get it. And I think that that's the issue that most people are having today in healthy relationships, is that once again, they don't think that they're worthy enough to have somebody who is amazing and cares for them, right? I did want to say this as well. So when you're like thinking about the kind of man that you want, right? Or the kind of woman that you want, if you're thinking of a super powerful, super successful, makes like $1 million a month, still has time for, quality time with his wife, still has quality time to go on vacations, etc. What kind of woman would that man want? And if that were the woman that the man was looking for, what kind of man would she want, right? She would probably want somebody who's going to love her. Am I capable of that? Am I capable of loving? Why, yes, I am. Probably want somebody who can compromise, right? Can I compromise? I sure as hell can compromise. If I feel it's logical and I feel like it's a win-win, I can compromise, absolutely, right? So then that's two things that this man would want in me. Am I ambitious? Yes, I'm ambitious, right? So maybe you ask yourself these questions and you say, well, no, I'm not any of these things. Okay, well, become them. Become them. Right? Because you're going to become a specific person as you grow up anyways. Why not become something and someone that this beautiful person that you're imagining would want?
Yeah, this reminds me of Marie Forleo's quote that I shared in last week's episode, that clarity comes from engagement, not from thought. And I think when you go out and you interact with people and you have these relationships, you learn a lot.
You're so right. You're so right. Like, just go up and talk to the wealthy man. Go up and talk to the powerful woman. Just talk to them. You'll learn something.
Yeah, and because the mind and your psyche will surprise you. Like, you can sit around and watch all these romantic comedy movies and get these ideas of like, oh yeah, this is the kind of relationship I want. But when you actually go step onto the playing field and you start interacting with people, then you're going to be surprised. You're going to be like, whoa, I did not realize that fear would come up in me, or I didn't realize that I would have this reaction, that the other person would do X and I would react Y. You actually have something to work with, some sort of substance, and like, oh dang, why did I have that emotion? Why did I react that way? Like, and that, I think that's where the learning happens.
So I actually just found a picture of my first boyfriend and I. Oh my God, I was laughing so fucking hard. We would fight all the time. I was jealous. I was insecure. The relationship was completely unstable. It was just a bad relationship. And the first guy that I had ever dated that was wealthy, we dated, for maybe a month and a half. He had this beautiful, beautiful, fucking really nice house in Fort Lauderdale. So I was so happy to be with him and everything. And I think in that moment, that's when I realized that, like, this man, this wealthy, rich man who has his life together, has this beautiful house in Fort Lauderdale, who has 2 cars, who like has his life together, likes me. Having that mindset, like that deep belief that I really am worth like something that is just so beautiful and so natural and so real is what helps me go up to the higher people. Like, even if they're not interested in me, I still go up there and I still talk to them, and I still see their body language when they talk to me. I see what they like about me. I see what they don't like about me. And, so through that interaction, I can then, process and then rewire and be like, beep, boop, 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 beep, boop. Okay, now I'm set. Now I have more information.
What if you get in a relationship with somebody and then one of you changes over time, like evolves, and the relationship isn't working anymore?
Well, that's why you need to get into a relationship with somebody and know that they are as ambitious as you. So, like, I want to get into a relationship where, I'm like, hey, I'm going to the top. I'm going to the top. I'm never going to quit. Literally, there is not one thing in this world that could make me quit. I am always going to keep going. So I need to know that you're on the same page. because I can't be, wasting my time with somebody who is not going to be in that same mindset as me separately and as a whole. So it's like, yeah, like it's just something that you need to address and that you really need to feel out. Like, look at the person you're dating. Does this person look like they're going to give up at some point? Does this person look like they're going to veer off the path to success and leave you hanging while you're the ambitious one? If so, don't date them. You're going to set yourself up. You're going to open your heart to this person who you know damn well is not going to be as ambitious as you, and you're going to break your own heart. And then you're going to blame it on love.
Coming back to this concept of dependencies that we were talking about, what's kind of interesting is that if two people are dependent on like being in a relationship and they get together, they're both happy because they're both in a relationship. And so in a way, it's kind of functional, but at the same time, I think it's vulnerable because what if, I mean, hey, we live on planet Earth, like crap happens. Like you, for one reason or another, you guys might not be together. And then that dependency, then you're going to face a really difficult time because that dependency within you was never addressed. You found a temporary solution, or you found like, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like having high blood pressure or heart disease, and they give you a pill to lower your blood pressure, right? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I mean, you're fine now. Your blood pressure is lower, right? Mm-hmm. But still, you could have fixed it at the root by exercising and watching what you eat.
Yes. To then ask yourself, like, the question, like, can I cultivate this on my own? Or am I looking to this person to provide me and supply me with this? Because when that happens, they may not be able to supply you, and then you wind up resenting the relationship because they're not giving you what you got into the relationship for. You're taking that pill to try and cover up whatever it is you're missing within yourself. And when the pill is no longer there, you're like, ugh. Like, it's okay to get it from them sometimes. Like maybe you're feeling down and they'll say, hey, pick your head up, beautiful. But I can still cultivate that on my own. Like, if he weren't there to say that, I could still look at myself in the mirror and say, Kyra, you are a beautiful, beautiful woman. Get up and go out there and do it. You have got this. Fuck the thoughts. Fuck the naysaying thoughts. Go out there and do it. Right? And I think that that's the most important thing. And you can practice it.
That's some good inspiration to end on. So thank you all for watching. We'll be back next week with episode 85. Did you find at least one gold nugget in today's episode? Then please like and subscribe and share it with a friend. And finally, if you're looking for a community of like-minded people, join our free Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/enterthemind.